Hello everyone, I'm Jen and welcome again to the Happy Little Book Nook. Today I want to talk about something a little bit different regarding books, and that is kind of my personal love for books, my personal journey with books, and something that hopefully some of you will get encouragement from, be able to relate to. That is the topic of anxiety and books. So for most of my life, I have suffered with anxiety and panic attacks, which are terrible, terrible things. For those of you who have had the fortunate life of not being anxious or experiencing that, anxiety is the body's ability to say, hey, there's danger coming, you should either run away or you should stop and fight. And that is a normal human response to dangerous situations. But with anxiety, you just can be sleeping, you can be standing there doing absolutely nothing, and your body somehow feels like danger, 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 you should freak out right now. And there really is not always a rational, logical understanding for why you feel this way. It just hits you and it really sucks, and there's not a whole lot you can do to get through it, but just get through it. And as I've gone through life and things have changed, and I've gotten older and had to deal with more responsibilities and weird random things, books have been my constant companion. And I was talking with a friend of mine, and this kind of inspired this little chat video. But for me, besides the fact that books allow you to live a million different lives, and they're just pure magic in my opinion, and they're just like air to me, they also bring me a sense of comfort. And when you're anxious, you just want to know things are gonna be okay. And for those of you who are with me on the anxiety situation, you know how badly in those moments you want someone just to cuddle you and say, hey, it's going to be okay. You're going to get through this. Life is not as scary as you think it is. Things are always going to work out somewhere down the road. And so for me, books provide that comfort to say, you know what? No matter how bad it gets, things are going to be okay. And so I picked out 3 books. I would say that honestly, all of my books have been there at one point or another to comfort me, and just looking at them on the shelves is super important for me, not because they're super pretty, but because they just remind me of all these characters, all these lives that have gone through some terrible, terrible situations, some worse than others, and everybody comes out okay. In the end, the life still goes on. We find a way to, grow and become better, and even the mistakes that we make, no matter how dreadful they might be, we learn from them and we grow. But these 3 books in particular stood out to me as kind of the everything's going to be okay no matter what. Life is going to find its way to resolve. And the first one of that would be the Twilight series. Twilight came into my life at a time when I needed it the most. I had basically given up on love, given up on the idea that, guys were good and there was anything worth hoping for in that department. Twilight came around and it just filled a void in my heart that I didn't quite think anything could fill. And Twilight gave me hope that, even though some guys really do suck and people do stupid things, and sometimes the world can feel like it is just crumbling around you, it can be okay and it can turn out alright. And as we know, Bella and Edward's relationship is just timeless. I don't care what people say. I don't care how much you hate on Twilight. I am a huge Bella and Edward fan. More so Edward than Bella, but huge fan of their relationship. And they, honestly, Edward in particular, even though he's fictional and even though, he's like the perfect guy in my opinion, that necessarily can't be achieved in reality, he still gave me hope that, don't give up on the things that you want. Don't stop setting your standards high, because you shouldn't lower your standards just to find somebody or just to, feel like you are in with people or whatever the situation is. Go for what you want and don't give up, because that one perfect person is out there for you. And even Edward in this, I loved his character, because even though he is like the perfect guy, so to speak, he's not. He's got a lot of flaws, and he reveals those flaws throughout the books. And I love that about him, But this series, I read it time and time again. I will never give up on Twilight. I'm a Twilight for life. But it definitely gave me hope and is a constant reminder of the future that I want, the things that I want. and that no matter how bad it gets, even if vampires are chasing you down, things are going to be okay. The second book that we're going to talk about is the Dune series. 3 books are in this series right now. If you have not read it, please, please, please go and get this right now. You will not regret it. There's a 4th book coming out, which I cannot wait to get my hands on. But Dune, again, is one of those books that constantly reminds me that there is hope even in the most unknown situations. And when I'm anxious, everything just feels like there's no control, there's, you know, no hope. Everything is just crazy and chaotic. And with Dune, it's about McKenna and Veronica, who end up finding these magical rings, and they cross over the Brigadoon, which leads them into the land of Dune, or the kingdom of Dune. And they find that their lives are anything but what they expected it to be. And they do have to make some extremely hard choices, whether they stay, whether they go, do they give up on the loves that they found, you know, do they believe in the things that they can't necessarily see or understand. This book has, again, just given me hope, not only in love, and not that only in the sense that there's someone out there for me, or there's, you know, great men that want to live chivalrous, wonderful lives, but that, you know, the choices I make are my choices to make, and even if they seem wrong at the time, there is still redemption there, and there's still a way to have the happily ever after that you want, no matter what, as long as you just keep going for it, and you keep believing, and you keep challenging yourself. And the last book that I have in my little collection here for today is the Lunar Chronicles. Obviously there are 4 books in this series, 5 if you count Ferris. This series, even though it was based roughly on the fairy tales, totally gives me hope that things can turn out okay. Cinder in particular, as we follow her story and discover many amazing things about her, has a pretty crappy start to her life. For those of you who've read this, you know that she really did not have the type of life most people would want. But she found a way to make it better. She found a way to become the person that she was always meant to become. And no matter what is thrown at her, even in the face of death and destruction and horrible, horrible things, she still is able to come out of it okay. And I just love, love, love this series for 1,000,001 reasons. But when we're talking about anxiety and, you know, are things going to be okay, and, you know, that fight or flight type thing, this is definitely a great series to read, because it will remind you that no matter what the situation, whether you are Cress and you are stuck in a satellite orbiting the universe, or you are Cinder who feels like nobody is ever going to see you for the person that you are, or you are Scarlet who, you know, thinks your life is one way but turns out it is completely something else, or you are Winter who has had to make the extremely hard choice to give up on your abilities and risk your sanity and become basically crazy to stand up and rebel against what you know is wrong. It's gonna be okay. And so I hope that this video gives you guys some encouragement, some strength. I urge you, if you do have anxiety, to reach out and talk to someone. Please feel free to leave a comment in the box below. You can also send me an email if you want to chat, or if you just got some things on your mind that you want to get off. I am always, always here to listen. I urge you though to please just dive into your books and let them be that encouragement in your life, no matter where you are at or what you're going through, to know that things are going to be okay. And that there is hope beyond the darkness, there is hope out there for you. And even though these are fictional worlds and fictional characters, everything is somehow based on reality. So art always imitates life. And I think far too often we find ourselves relating to these characters for a reason. So please, please just know that everything will be okay no matter what happens, no matter where you're at right now. I love you all, and until next time, happy reading, my lovelies.